Success is not a matter of chance, it's a matter of design, and design is built one small action at a time. The first small habit that will transform your life forever is waking up early, before the world demands your attention. There is something powerful, something almost sacred about beating the sun. That early hour isn't just quiet, it's yours, you own it. And when you start owning your time, you begin to take ownership of your life. The habit of rising early isn't about suffering, it's about strategy. In the early hours, your mind is clear, your distractions are few, and your willpower is fresh. You don't wake up early for the sake of being up. You do it to get a head start on the world. While others are sleeping, you're planning, journaling, reading, exercising, meditating. You're setting the tone, not reacting to it. That first hour of your day is your runway, and the smoother your takeoff, the higher your altitude throughout the day. People often say, "I'm not a morning person," but let me ask, were you born that way, or did you simply never train yourself differently? Discipline is not in your blood, it's in your behavior, it's what you repeat. The more you rise early, the more your mind begins to associate morning with progress. And progress, no matter how small, leads to motivation. Motivation leads to action, and action repeated becomes a lifestyle. Now, what do you do with those extra hours? That's where intention steps in. This habit isn't about time, it's about what you do with it. If you use that morning time to complain, scroll, or wander mentally, you've wasted your advantage. But if you use it to read something that feeds your mind, to write down your goals, to stretch your body, or to reflect in silence, you begin your day with momentum. You become proactive, not reactive. You stop chasing the day and start directing it. Even waking up just 30 minutes earlier can give you the mental edge that sets champions apart from the crowd. It gives you clarity before chaos. It gives you a moment to breathe before the noise begins. And in that breath, in that quiet moment of control, you find power, real power. The power to choose your attitude, the power to choose your actions, the power to lead your own life. Understand this, your morning is the thermostat of your day. If you start it with purpose, everything else starts aligning behind that intention. Miss that window, and you'll likely spend the rest of the day reacting instead of building. Waking up early doesn't make you successful, but using the early hours wisely, that's the habit that transforms your life. The second small habit that will change your life forever is writing down your goals daily. Not once a month, not once a year, but every single day. The mind is like a garden. What you plant and water consistently is what will grow. Writing your goals daily is not about wishful thinking. It's about programming your mind to stay focused, intentional, and aligned. When you take the time to write down your goals every day, you're reinforcing your vision. You're telling your subconscious, "This matters to me." And over time, your mind begins to look for ways to close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It becomes a quiet partner working behind the scenes, helping you spot opportunities, take action, and stay on track. People often underestimate the power of repetition. They think writing their goals once in January is enough to last the entire year. But clarity fades, life gets noisy, distractions creep in. Without a consistent reminder of what you're aiming for, your days become reactive. You wake up and start responding to everything, emails, messages, other people's demands, until eventually you forget your own path. Writing your goals daily is a way of reclaiming your direction. It puts your future back in your hands, and the more often you see your goals, the more likely you are to act in alignment with them. There's a certain energy that comes from writing something down. It's not the same as thinking about it or even typing it into a phone. When pen hits paper, your brain engages more deeply. It forces you to slow down, reflect, and articulate what you truly want. That clarity creates confidence. And confidence fuels momentum. You begin to see yourself not just as someone with dreams, but as someone with a plan. And plans, unlike dreams, come with deadlines, strategy, and accountability. Writing your goals daily also helps you refine them. You might start the month wanting one thing, But as you write it each morning, you realize it's not aligned with your deeper values. That's not failure, that's discovery. The process of daily writing reveals patterns. You start noticing which goals excite you and which feel forced. You learn more about yourself, what drives you, what distracts you, and what direction your life is actually headed. That insight is gold. Because once you understand your internal compass, you stop drifting and start steering. Some of the most successful people in the world, from CEO to athletes, swear by this habit, not because it's trendy, but because it works. It keeps the main thing the main thing. It helps you start each day with purpose instead of panic, and it doesn't take hours. 5 minutes in the morning is all you need. 5 minutes to reconnect with your goals, your purpose, your why. And when you do that consistently, you begin to notice something remarkable. Your life starts to align. The gap between what you say you want and what you actually do begins to close. You find yourself making decisions faster, saying no more easily, and feeling more in control. The third small habit that will change your life forever is practicing gratitude every single day. Gratitude is not just a feel-good emotion. It's a perspective shift, a lens that alters how you see everything else in your life. When you begin your day by acknowledging what you're thankful for, you immediately move your mind out of scarcity and into abundance. And from that place of abundance, better decisions are made. The habit of gratitude is not about ignoring problems. It's about training your focus. You can either focus on what's missing or on what's present. And whichever one you choose, your reality begins to mirror that focus. Too often, people chase success thinking it will bring happiness. But happiness isn't the result of success, it's the fuel for it. When you are genuinely grateful, you become less stressed, less anxious, and more centered. You stop comparing, stop complaining, and start appreciating. And when you start appreciating, even small wins feel like victories. That mindset creates a momentum all its own. Gratitude makes what you have enough, and that sense of enoughness gives you clarity and peace. Clarity and peace allow you to act with power instead of desperation. Practicing gratitude doesn't require hours of journaling or deep meditation. It can be as simple as writing down 3 things you're thankful for each morning. Not vague or general, but specific and meaningful. I'm grateful for the way my son smiled at breakfast. I'm thankful the rain gave me a moment of calm. I appreciate that I had the strength to show up today. The more detailed your gratitude, the more your brain learns to look for good things. And what you train your brain to notice, it begins to seek more of. This rewiring shapes your entire emotional state. You become calmer in conflict, more patient with delays, more resilient in struggle. Gratitude is also a disruptor. It interrupts negative cycles of thought. When you're angry, bitter, or overwhelmed, pausing for gratitude can bring you back to center. It reminds you that even in the middle of chaos, there's still something steady, something good. That shift in focus can be the difference between spiraling and stabilizing. And over time, it's not just your mood that changes, but your relationships, your work, your health. People are drawn to those who radiate appreciation. Opportunities come more easily to those who can find the silver lining even when things go wrong. There's a saying that you can't be grateful and miserable at the same time. That's not just poetic, it's neuroscience. Gratitude and fear, gratitude and anger, gratitude and envy, these cannot coexist in the mind at full strength. The more space you give to gratitude, the less room there is for anything else to take root. And this doesn't mean you ignore reality. It means you choose to anchor your reality in strength instead of scarcity. Gratitude teaches you that life is not happening to you. It's happening for you. Even your challenges carry gifts. Even your losses hold lessons. Even your failures shape your future. The fourth small habit that will change your life forever is reading every day. Just 10 pages a day can reshape the way you think, act, and live. Reading is not just about absorbing information, it's about transformation. Books are like mentors that sit quietly beside you, waiting to share decades of experience, wisdom, and insight for the price of your time and attention. When you commit to daily reading, you expose your mind to new ideas, perspectives, strategies, and solutions. You learn to think beyond your current circumstances and begin to see the world and yourself in a much broader light. Daily reading sharpens your mind. It helps you articulate your thoughts with more clarity, understand problems with more depth, and make decisions with more confidence. Just like the body needs exercise to stay strong, the mind needs stimulation to stay sharp. When you feed your mind quality information, you build mental discipline, you develop focus, and focus is a rare asset in a distracted world. Reading requires you to slow down, to engage deeply, and to stretch your concentration. That simple act trains your brain to be more attentive in everything else you do. Reading also builds your internal library of wisdom. Not everything you read will change your life, but parts of it will stay with you. A single sentence in a book can shift your mindset, open a door you didn't know existed, or confirm a truth you've always felt but couldn't explain. And when you accumulate these fragments of wisdom over time, they become part of your thinking. They influence how you respond to challenges, how you lead, how you grow. It's not about finishing the book, it's about letting the book finish a part of you. The act of reading daily also keeps you humble. No matter how much you think you know, there's always more to learn. Every time you open a book, you're reminded that the world is vast, complex, and rich with knowledge. That mindset of constant learning keeps you grounded and curious. It keeps you growing. Growth doesn't always come from grand achievements. It often comes from small, consistent exposure to ideas that stretch your thinking. Reading creates that exposure every day, and reading isn't limited to self, help, or business books. Fiction, history, biography, philosophy, all of it adds color to your thinking. Fiction builds empathy and imagination. History gives context. Philosophy strengthens reasoning. Biographies offer blueprints from real lives. Each genre develops a different muscle of the mind, and when you engage with them regularly, you become more mentally agile, emotionally intelligent, and strategically sound. When you build the habit of reading daily, you're not just collecting information, you're building identity. You begin to see yourself as a learner, as someone who invests in their growth. And that identity shapes how you spend your time, how you interact with others, and how you rise to meet your challenges. Even just 10 pages a day adds up. Over the course of a year, that's roughly 15 to 20 books, each one potentially containing the idea that could change your direction forever. The fifth small habit that will change your life forever is exercising daily, even if just for a few minutes. Movement is medicine, not just for the body, but also for the mind and spirit. When you move your body, you activate something primal within you, the need to engage with life physically, not just mentally. Exercise is not only about sculpting your body, it's about training discipline, building energy, and creating a consistent sense of accomplishment. Even short sessions of physical movement can shift your entire state. A brisk walk, a light jog, a stretch routine, a set of push-ups. These small actions compound over time into vitality and confidence. Most people think exercise is a long, painful commitment, but that belief is what keeps them stuck. The truth is, the hardest part is starting. Once you get moving, even for 5 to 10 minutes, your body begins releasing chemicals, endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, that act like internal motivators. You feel clearer, lighter, more present. You carry yourself differently. You stand taller, breathe deeper, and think more sharply. That shift in your physiology often leads to a shift in your psychology. Movement is the key that unlocks momentum. Discipline built in the gym often bleeds into the rest of your life. When you train your body to push through discomfort, to show up even when you don't feel like it, You're cultivating the exact mindset required for success in any area. Exercise becomes a daily reminder that progress is earned, not given. That consistency matters more than intensity. That showing up every day, even imperfectly, is better than waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. There's also a deeper lesson in physical training. It teaches you patience. Results don't happen overnight, but with time, effort adds up. Reps turn into strength. Steps turn into miles. Minutes turn into endurance. These lessons translate into business, relationships, and personal growth. You stop chasing quick fixes and start building strong foundations. And you start valuing effort, not just outcome. Exercise also sharpens your emotional resilience. When you push through a hard workout, you build a quiet kind of mental toughness. You learn how to deal with fatigue, how to stay focused under pressure, and how to keep going when you want to quit. That toughness shows up later when life throws stress, uncertainty, or setbacks your way. You've trained yourself to breathe, to stay grounded, and to push forward anyway, and physical energy is the foundation of all other energy. Without it, ambition suffers, creativity drops, focus fades. When your body is sluggish, your mind is foggy, but when your body is strong and active, you naturally feel more capable, more driven, more alive. Energy attracts opportunity. People respond to someone who radiates vitality. It's a silent signal of discipline, confidence, and commitment. Daily movement, no matter how small, keeps that energy flowing. You don't need fancy equipment or a gym membership to start. What matters is consistency. A few squats, a morning stretch, a walk around the block, it all counts. Over time, the habit of daily movement becomes part of your identity. You stop thinking of exercise as something you have to do and start seeing it as something you get to do. The sixth small habit that will change your life forever is saving and investing a portion of your income, no matter how small. It's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep and what you do with it. Financial discipline is not reserved for the wealthy. It's what makes people wealthy over time. The habit of consistently putting money aside, even if it's a tiny percentage, builds not just your bank account, but your mindset. It teaches you control, patience, and long-term thinking. Every time you save, you're saying no to instant gratification and yes to future stability. Money, when managed wisely, becomes a tool for freedom rather than a source of stress. Saving regularly builds your emergency fund, your opportunity fund, and eventually your investment capital. It prepares you for the unexpected while positioning you to seize unexpected opportunities. Most people live paycheck to paycheck, not because they don't earn enough, but because they never built the habit of saving. They react to money rather than managing it. But the moment you begin treating your income with intention, you shift from being controlled by money to controlling it. Investing, even in small amounts, is a mindset of growth. It's the understanding that money can work for you if you give it time and direction. Whether it's in index funds, real estate, stocks, or your own education, investing multiplies the value of your effort. But more importantly, it teaches you delayed gratification. When you invest, you're planting seeds you won't harvest for years. That patience builds emotional strength. It helps you resist the temptation to chase trends or indulge in every desire. You learn to play the long game. Saving also gives you peace of mind. When you know you have a buffer, you make decisions from a place of strength rather than desperation. You can take calculated risks, walk away from toxic situations, and pursue opportunities without being paralyzed by fear. That kind of freedom doesn't come from earning more. It comes from managing better. And the earlier you start, the more powerful compound growth becomes. Money saved today quietly works for you while you sleep, slowly expanding your options over time. This habit also reshapes your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who is responsible, strategic, and future-focused. You feel a quiet confidence that others notice. And as your financial discipline grows, you begin to see areas in your life where you can apply that same level of control. Your time, your energy, your relationships. It becomes less about money and more about mastery. Most people avoid saving because they believe they don't have enough. But the truth is, you don't start saving because you have extra. You have extra because you start saving. It's the act, not the amount, that creates the shift. Just like physical training builds muscle over time, financial training builds wealth with consistent effort. The habit matters more than the numbers at first. Over time, those small deposits become a foundation for financial security, freedom, and independence. The seventh small habit that will change your life forever is limiting your time on social media and intentionally disconnecting from digital distractions. In today's world, attention is the new currency, and whoever controls your attention controls your life. Every scroll, every notification, every endless feed is designed to hijack your focus and feed your impulses. What appears harmless often leads to hours lost, energy drained, and priorities forgotten. Most people don't realize how much of their time is quietly stolen in short bursts of digital consumption. Minutes become hours, and those hours are taken from the work that truly matters. Your goals, your growth, your relationships. Reducing screen time isn't about becoming anti-technology. It's about reclaiming your attention so you can direct it with intention. When you begin to limit your social media usage, you'll notice a surprising shift in your mental clarity. Your thoughts become less fragmented, your ability to concentrate deepens, and you begin to notice things you once overlooked, like your own ideas, your emotions, and your creative spark. The constant dopamine hits that come from likes, messages, and viral content create a cycle of distraction that rewires the brain to seek validation instead of meaning. By disconnecting regularly, even for just 30 minutes to an hour each day, you give your mind space to breathe. You allow boredom, and boredom is often the birthplace of creativity. Some of the best thoughts, solutions, and breakthroughs happen in moments of stillness, not while being bombarded by noise. When you stop consuming so much of other people's content, you begin producing more of your own. You become less reactive and more original. You shift from follower to thinker, from consumer to creator. This habit also reconnects you with the present. So many people live their lives through a screen, capturing instead of experiencing, reacting instead of engaging. When you put your phone down, you return to real conversations, real emotions, real connections. You listen better, observe more, and become fully alive in your surroundings. That presence improves your relationships, your focus, and your peace of mind. You start valuing your own company and your own thoughts more than the fleeting opinions of strangers. Online digital boundaries are also an act of self-respect. They teach you to value your time, your mind, and your energy. You begin choosing what you consume instead of being fed endlessly. You realize that most of what's online is noise, not nourishment. And when you stop feeding your mind junk, you make room for depth, insight, and truth. That kind of clarity strengthens your decisions, sharpens your goals, and refines your path. Even simple changes make a difference. Turning off non-essential notifications, avoiding screens the first hour after waking up or before bed, setting specific times to check apps. These small boundaries help retrain your brain to focus, to rest, and to be fully engaged in the real world. When you reclaim your attention, you reclaim your power. You're no longer pulled in every direction by the digital world, but instead you lead with intention, clarity, and control over how you spend your most precious resource, your time. The eighth small habit that will change your life forever is speaking kindly to yourself, practicing positive self-talk every day. The words you say to yourself shape the person you become. Most people are constantly engaged in internal conversations, yet they rarely pause to examine the tone or direction of those thoughts. If your inner voice is filled with criticism, doubt, and fear, then no matter how much progress you make externally, you will always feel small internally. The way you speak to yourself becomes the blueprint for your self-image, and your self-image sets the limits of what you believe you're capable of changing yourself. ACK is not about ignoring your flaws or pretending to be perfect. It's about shifting your focus from self-sabotage to self-encouragement. You don't grow by tearing yourself down. You grow by believing in your ability to learn, improve, and rise. The moment you start replacing "I can't" with "I'm learning," or "I always mess up" with "I'm getting better," you're rewiring your mind to expect progress instead of failure. That shift creates confidence, and confidence influences how you show up in your work, your relationships, and your daily choices. Kind self ACK also builds emotional resilience. Life is not free from setbacks, rejection, or mistakes, but how you respond to those moments makes all the difference. When your internal voice is harsh, every failure feels like proof that you're not enough. But when that voice is compassionate, failures become feedback. You see obstacles not as dead ends, but as stepping stones. You remind yourself that growth takes time, that effort matters, and that one bad day doesn't erase the progress you've made. This kind of inner support is more powerful than any external praise. The words you speak to yourself also affect your energy. If you constantly tell yourself you're tired, overwhelmed, or defeated, your body and actions begin to follow that command. But if you start your day with empowering language, simple affirmations like "I am focused," "I am capable," "I handle challenges with strength," you activate a different level of presence and energy. This isn't about blind positivity. It's about choosing thoughts that serve you instead of sabotage you. Practicing positive self-talk can be as simple as journaling daily affirmations, speaking out loud in the mirror, or catching and replacing negative thoughts in real time. The more you do it, the more automatic it becomes. Your mind starts to default to belief instead of doubt, to encouragement instead of criticism. And over time, that consistent voice of support becomes your internal coach, pushing you forward instead of pulling you back. This habit also impacts the way you treat others. When you're kind to yourself, you develop more empathy, patience, and understanding toward those around you. You stop projecting your insecurities and start connecting from a place of confidence. People feel that shift, they respond to it. And it creates a ripple effect of positivity, because the way you treat yourself sets the tone for every interaction you have with the world around you. The ninth small habit that will change your life forever is learning to listen more than you speak. In a world where everyone is trying to be heard, few take the time to truly hear. Most people listen with the intent to reply, not with the intent to understand. But there is immense power in silence, in patience, in the ability to absorb instead of constantly express. Listening deeply builds trust, strengthens relationships, and opens the door to insights you would have missed had you been too focused on making your point. When you develop the habit of listening, you position yourself as someone who values others, someone who learns from every interaction, and someone who responds with wisdom rather than impulse. Listening sharpens your emotional intelligence. It allows you to pick up on not just words, but tone, intent, and emotion. It teaches you to observe body language, to sense energy shifts in a conversation, and to discern what is being said beyond what is being spoken. This level of awareness improves your communication dramatically because you're not just reacting to the surface, you're responding to the whole picture. And when people feel seen and understood, they open up more, they trust more, and they collaborate more effectively. The habit of listening also enhances your decision making. When you're not rushing to speak or insert your opinion, you leave space for more information to surface. You gather multiple perspectives, you consider different angles, and you reduce the chances of making decisions based on incomplete or biased input. Listening is an act of humility. It says, I don't know everything and I'm open to learning. That openness keeps your mind flexible and your thinking sharp. It prevents you from becoming rigid or arrogant in your approach to problems in both personal and professional settings. The best leaders are often the best listeners. They pay attention, ask thoughtful questions, and create an environment where others feel valued. They don't need to dominate the room to have influence. They listen carefully, speak strategically, and act decisively. This kind of presence commands respect without needing to demand it. It allows you to connect more deeply, build stronger teams, and lead with empathy. Listening also cultivates patience, a quality that is becoming increasingly rare. It slows you down in the best way, grounding you in the present moment. You stop rushing through conversations just to be heard, and instead begin to appreciate the depth and richness that comes from real connection. The more you listen, the more you understand people, their needs, fears, goals, and strengths. And that understanding allows you to serve better, lead better, and relate better. It's easy to speak, to express, to react. But real strength lies in restraint, in the ability to stay quiet long enough to let others reveal their truth. The habit of listening is subtle but transformative. It builds self-control, deepens awareness, and earns respect in ways that loud words never can. And over time, it shapes you into someone whose presence speaks louder than their voice ever could. The 10th small habit that will change your life forever is ending each day with reflection. Just a few quiet minutes at the end of your day can give you insight, clarity, and momentum for tomorrow. Most people rush through their days, constantly reacting, constantly moving, and then collapse into sleep without pausing to evaluate how they actually spent their time. Reflection isn't about overthinking or judgment. It's about learning. When you review your day with honesty, you start to notice patterns. You see what's working and what's not. You begin to understand what drains you, what energizes you, what deserves more of your time, and what doesn't. This daily pause builds self-awareness. You begin to connect your actions with your results. You recognize how your decisions, big and small, shape your mood, your productivity, your relationships, and your progress toward your goals. You start to see which habits push you forward and which ones quietly pull you back. That awareness is powerful because you can't change what you don't see. Reflection shines a light on your blind spots, and it does so gently, without the noise of the day clouding your judgment. Ending your day with reflection also improves your mindset. It gives you a chance to acknowledge progress instead of always focusing on what's left undone. Too often, people chase perfection and ignore growth. But when you reflect, you can celebrate the small wins, a task completed, a difficult conversation handled with grace, a moment of discipline in the face of distraction. These small acknowledgments build confidence. They reinforce the identity of someone who is growing, someone who is moving, someone who is not stagnant. Reflection also creates closure. It helps you put the day to rest so you're not carrying its stress into the next one. You empty the mental clutter. You let go of what can't be changed. You find lessons in the mistakes, and you forgive yourself for the missteps. That emotional reset allows you to sleep better, think clearer, and start the next day with intention instead of residue. The mind, like the body, needs time to recover. Reflection is that recovery. It can be done in a journal, in quiet thought, or even spoken out loud. What matters is the consistency. Ask yourself simple questions. What did I do well today? What challenged me? What can I do differently tomorrow? What am I grateful for right now? These questions pull you out of autopilot and into awareness. And the more aware you become, the more deliberate your life becomes. This small habit also connects you with your deeper values. As you reflect regularly, you begin to see whether your actions align with the person you want to become. You notice where you lived with integrity and where you strayed. That feedback loop sharpens your compass. It helps you course correct quickly before small slips turn into full detours. It turns your days into a learning cycle, not just a repeating cycle. Reflection is not about perfection. It's about direction. It's a quiet moment where you check in, realign, and refocus. It reminds you that life isn't measured just by how busy you are, but by how intentionally you live.